Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. So I guess my first question is, I'm not sure, do you have this, do you have iECHO, the training guide? Have I sent that to you before?
Yes, I had the copy of our training in last October.
Okay. Does everybody else have a copy of this? If not, I can send that out to you right now so you can follow along.
Yes.
Let me go ahead and I'll send it on the invite that I sent out to you.
Okay.
Just give me 1 second to do this. Okay, it's taking me just a minute. My computer decided it didn't want to work right now.
Take your time.
There we go.
Actually, Yasmin shows interest in attending training, immersion training, the same as I did in iECHO Institute. But maybe she's a little bit busy these days, so you can consider it for the coming 2 months or so.
Okay. So she would like to travel here, or yes, she would like us to, okay, that would be great. Yasmin, we would love to have you. So if you can let us know when might be a good time for you to come. We have trainings scheduled every month. So we have another one in June, another one in July, and another one in August. And I can send you the dates for those if that would be helpful. So I just sent out to everybody this iECHO. And I'm just going to open this up so everybody see this okay, and you can use chat if this works. But this is just the iECHO training guide, and we're actually in the process of updating this. So we will send out a new copy as soon as we've updated it. But I just want to kind of show you what's on here. There's a glossary of terms for iECHO navigation. So we're going to go through each of these, and I'll kind of touch base as doing the training. So there's Health Center, there's a Health Center tab, there's a Contact tab, there's a Clinic tab, a Clinic Record, there's a Resource tab, and an Admin tab. And this just breaks it down for you of all the words that are in each of these tabs. So I'm not going to read through all of them, but if you read through this and you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. And then if you go to the second page, then you start seeing step-by-step instructions on how to use iECHO. So I'm not going to keep this up right now. I'm actually going to make this small, but I'm going to take you through each of these steps on how to create a health center, how to create a contact, how to create your clinic, and so on. Like I said, if I just sent this to you, if you want to open it up and you want to follow along, you're more than welcome to. So do we have any questions so far?
Thanks, Christine.
Okay. So I'm going to log out. I'm already logged into iECHO, but I'm going to sign out so we can go through this process together. And today I'm going to take you into the training site, but you have access you have the username and password for your own iECHO account. So that's what you'll be using here. But today I'm just going to be using training admin_test site, because we're just going to take you into a training site. And the password, if you're following along, the password is actually password.
So
Once
we can log into this account right now, right?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Yep. So how many of you have your computers? Are you both on your computers and using
Computer?
Okay. Yasmin, are you?
Yasmin using both. Okay.
Okay, let me see.
Dina is on mobile. My colleague Dina, she is our
Yes.
moderator and facilitator. She joined us now.
Oh, she's joined. Hi, Dina, and welcome. I'm glad you're able to join us. So, okay, so you're using both, okay? And Dina, I'm not sure if you're able to, if you're on a computer as well, if you're following along. But again, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to chat me, and I will try and keep up with the chat, or just unmute yourself and then go ahead and ask me the questions. So any questions so far? Are we okay?
The username again?
The username is training admin, and I'll go back. Actually, I'll sign out so we can do it. Here you're going to type in training admin _ test site. Is that big enough? Can you see okay?
It's okay. Fine.
Let's see if I can make it a little bit bigger. And then the password is just going to be password. Once you've typed that in, you can just hit login. And it'll bring you to this main screen, which is our dashboard. So what the dashboard is actual visual, and it's loading right now. So it takes a little bit of time to load because we have a lot of information in here. But this first dashboard is by attendance by month. So it'll show us different variations. I wonder if they cleaned this out. They might have cleaned this out. It looks like nothing's coming up. But it'll give you lines that'll show you how many people attended per month and what clinics they are. And then down here you see another dashboard, and this has average attendance by month. So it just averages the attendance you're getting per month, which is really helpful to see. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the Health Center tab. So if everybody can follow me and just click on Health Centers, it'll bring up, for us right now, because this is a test site, it has all this information loaded in here. We've created various health centers. When you go into yours, you'll have very few. But what you want to do for health centers is make sure that anybody that's joining your clinic, anybody who's attending, you add their health center, which is the organization that they're with, and then separately you're going to add a contact, which is an individual person. But first we're going to go ahead and add the health center. So most of these tabs are going to look the same. You're going to see the health center tab, and then you're going to, on the right hand side, you see the create a new health center. So we're going to go ahead and create a new health center right now. So when you're creating your health center, you can use Reaching You Egypt. And you can type that. This is a test site, so it doesn't matter what you type in. You can type in anything. So right now I'm going to type in, let's see, we're going to say today that we're doing
HCV.
Egypt University. And so what you want to do is you want to make sure you fill in most of this information as much as possible, because this is going to be like a database for you to pull reports, to see who's joining, to have their address and their phone number available to you. So you definitely want to, did I spell that right? Is Cairo C-I-R-O?
C-A-I?
C-A-I-R-O? Is that right?
Yeah, right.
Okay. So you can do that, and then you can come down to country. Now, it defaults automatically to United States, so you would always have to change that. And then if you have a phone number and email, you want to make sure you do that. Now here it says primary contact. You cannot add a primary contact until you have added them to a contact, to be a contact in here. So we'll do that in just a minute, and then we'll come back and add this person. But if they're added, like I should be able to pull my name, and it'll give you a drop down, and I can just choose from the drop down of the person that has been listed. So I'm going to put myself right now as a primary contact.
Okay.
Then you have two other buttons here. You have partner status, and the partner status is either they're a partner or they're a visitor. So what this is for is just for you to track. Sometimes you might have somebody come to your clinic that is just a visitor and is just trying to see what you're doing, partner, anybody who's consistently coming to your clinic.
Okay.
And then this right here is FQHC, which stands for Federally Qualified Healthcare Center, which is not something you have
Yeah.
in the United States. So you can always leave that as no. And then down here you have a notes field. In this notes field you can add any pertinent information that you feel is necessary to put about this particular organization. Perhaps this organization stands out to you because they're a funder, or that they have other interests, and you want to make a special note here. So, Om, can I ask you to mute yourself?
Okay.
Just because there's a lot of background noise.
Okay.
So if you have anything you want to put here, like I said, any notes, you can go ahead and do that. And it's changeable, so once you save it, you can go back and edit it once you hit edit. So if I hit save right now, it'll show me what information I put in. I put in Egypt University and the country, primary contact. It saves all this information for you. It also gives you an activity field. This is also like a notes field, but this particular activity field, when you enter this information in, if I put need to contact every Thursday before clinic. Once you hit save, it'll do two things. It'll actually date stamp it for you, so it'll show when this note was entered and who entered the information. But I'm going to hit save right now, and it's going to kick me out. So I'm going to go back in. So I'm going to hit save. So it gave me a blank health center now. So all I do is go back to the health center tab. I look for Egypt University. And I click back on here, and it'll take me back. And if you see here, it says, it shows the note that I put in the field, and it says training administrator was the one, and it gives today's date stamp and time, which is really helpful. The only thing to note about the activity field is that you can not go back and edit it. Once you've put this in, it stays that way. So if you have to make any changes, you just have to do another activity. If you need to edit anything, you can hit the edit button and it'll open it back up, and you can put any additional information that you might want to put in. And then you can hit save again, and you have all the information. Now here it shows you clinic attendees and presentations, and because this particular organization or health center has not attended any clinics yet, it's not showing anything. But once they get added in, so anybody you have listed that starts attending will start showing how many times they attended clinics, or what didactics, or what, how many patients and presentations. So that's health centers. Does anybody have any questions so far on health centers?
Thank you.
Okay, great. So I'm going to move on to contacts. Context is going to be the same thing. On the right-hand side, you see the Create a New Contact tab. I'm going to click on that. So what I'm going to do here under Health Centers is I'm going to use the one that I just created. You actually have to choose a health center that has already been created. So I'm going to do Egypt University. And just so you know, when you're typing in information here, you have to choose from the drop-down menu. So I have to go to this actual Egypt University and click on there to actually pull it in. If you type the whole thing out, it won't recognize it because it wants you to choose from the list that you have in your health centers. So then we're going to go to first name, and then we're going to put Samantha Smith. And again, this is a place where you want to put as much information as you have on this person. So depending on their job title, so we can say project manager, credentials, you can put in if you have the credentials. If you don't, you don't have to, but it's good to put that type of information in. And as you can see, it pulled over the address from the contact or from the health center. So it pulls that information over for you. But as you see right here, it populated the United States again. So you actually have to make sure to change that back to Egypt. Then you have phone numbers, mobile, fax, and other phone numbers. Again, you have a notes field here as well. And then once you're done entering that information, you just hit save. Any questions on the contacts or how to add a contact? Let me see what question.
Where to edit the data for consultants, our spokes.
Say that one more time, I didn't catch everything you said.
I mean the medical instructor for cardiology and pediatrics and the HCV, where to edit or to add their data.
Can you type that into the chat function because you're cutting in and out?
Okay.
Thank you. I'll just wait a minute while you type that in. Yasmin, you have a question? Let's see. In a case of participant working in two places, a hospital and a private, how can I save these data? Okay, so what I would do is, depending how they're coming to you, you could actually make two organizations, health centers. So you could put the health center in for their hospital that they're working at, and you can put in the health center for the private clinic. And you can attach her. I don't think you can attach her to both of them. You can only attach her to one health centers, but the health centers can be in there, and you can just make a note. Like if you want to attach her to the hospital and then make a note in the private clinic that she also works for the private clinic, you can do it that way. Does that answer your question, Yasmin? And then, you wrote, I want to add the data for our medical consultants, where to do it. Okay, so your medical consultants can be done the exact same way. It doesn't matter if they're not necessarily, if they're your consultants that are working with your hub, then you just make a health center for them, and if it's Reaching You Egypt, then you're going to want to make a Reaching You Egypt health center. And then once you've done that, you just add them as individual contacts. Does that help, and does that answer your question? see. How would I differentiate between instructors and learners? I mean, in the data fields. So what we're going to do, and I'll show you this in a minute, when you're entering contacts, you just enter them in as a contact, and you can add in the notes field or in the activity field if you want to, whether they're learners or whether they're instructors. But I will show you once we go to clinic records how they'll be differentiated in the clinic records. Okay. So, and as we go through, if this still doesn't answer your question, please let me know, and we'll revisit that. But I think as we go along, it'll be a little bit clearer. So I'm going to go on to the next tab, if everybody's okay with that. And I'm going to go to Clinic Records. Now, we have the Clinic Records tab, and we have a clinics list underneath. So the first thing we're going to do, and the first thing you'll want to do, is go to clinics. So we go to clinics, and the difference between a clinic record and a clinic is just the clinic actually the type of clinic that you're running. So if you're doing HCV or hepatitis C, you'll make a hepatitis C clinic. If you're doing cardiology, then you'll create one cardiology clinic. And for your pediatrics, you'll create one pediatrics clinic. So you're only going to have to do that one time for the specific clinic that you're running. So let me show you what I mean by that. So on the right-hand side, you can click on Create a New Clinic. And then you're going to come here, and we're going to say that we're going to do a cardiology. And then here where it says show as interested clinic, you don't have to worry about that. This is not something actually for our partners outside. It's more for internal use for our local echoes. So you can just, then there's a notes field, and you can be more specific if you want to say cardiology, but it's focusing in a specific area, like heart disease, you can put that here. And then you can hit the save button. Oh, so cardiology already is out there, so I'm going to create a new Cardiology 101. So now we have Cardiology 101. We know that it's based on heart disease, and we've created now our first clinic for this particular. So what we're going to do next So I'm going to click on Cardiology 101. I don't think I have it. I'm going to put just Project Echo, or now let's do Echo University. Or, I'm sorry, Egypt. Egypt University is going to be the location. And then the start time. So here, when you're creating this is going to be the start time of your clinic. So let's say your next clinic is going to be on Friday, and then it starts at, and these are sliders, so you have to slide this to the time that you want. Let's say it's 2 p.m. And then if it starts at 2:30, you can move the slider for minutes as well. But we're going to leave it at 2 p.m. and we're going to say done. So once you put your start time, then you also need to put your end time. So we're going to say the 13th again, and we're going to say the end time is 3 p.m. and click done. So then the next thing we have to choose is what type it is. So what type is your clinic? And most of the time you're going to leave this as Echo Clinic. But we have other options. We have a training option, we have ground round option, outreach, and education. Now each of these are listed on the iECHO training form that I sent you, and they give definitions for each of these. But most of the time, like I said, you're going to use Echo Clinic because that's what you're running. But if you want to use this for, to track your trainings that you do, to track any outreach that you do or education, you're more than welcome to use this for that as well. So we'll leave it on Echo Clinic. Then we have status, and then you have status is either scheduled, editing in private, in progress, completed, or canceled. So the scheduled means that it hasn't happened yet. This is, you're setting this up, and this is going to happen in the future. Editing in private is just something that you do if you don't want it to be pulled into a report that may be run. Maybe you're running reports on how many clinics are being run, and this happens to not be completed, and you don't want anybody to have access to pull the information that's in here. You could put it in editing in private. And then in progress meet is something that if somebody has this open during the clinic, you can put it in progress, and that way they know that the clinic is happening at that time. And then you have completed and canceled. So completed is when you have all the information in this clinic record and it's been completed. And then if you have to cancel a clinic, you can put canceled as well. But we're going to leave it as scheduled for right now. This extra attendees field, you don't have to worry about because it's not really functional for where it is right now, and you can't go back and edit it. So don't worry about this right here, and I'll show you where else you can do something for extra attendees. And then here it asks you if you want to load default attendees. You want to make sure that this is checked yes, or checked, so that it does load default attendees, and I'll show you how to add those default attendees. And then again, you have a notes field for any information you want to actually put in about this particular clinic record. You might want to notate that today's didactic is going to be on a heart valve, or I don't know, whatever the didactic happens to be on, you can put that in the notes field. And then you can hit save. Now once you hit save, it brings you to another page. And so here, oh, you know what? I'm going to stop for a second because I did forget to show you where to add default attendees. So I want to go back and show that to you really quickly because that's really important. So I'm going to leave this. I'm going to go back to clinics. And I'm going to go to cardiology. So I forgot to show you this when we were here, but when you add your clinic, it'll ask you if you have any default attendees. So once you get here, you can click on default attendees, and then it gives you an option to put attendees in, whether it's the facilitator who is on video, audio, or in person, whether it's the attendee on video, audio, in person, or if it's the staff video, audio, or in person. And I think there was a question, so I'm going to stop for a minute, and I'm going to come over here to my chat and look at it. Can participants read the data and notes in the section? So participants cannot unless you add them to iECHO, and generally you don't want to, when you add when you add attendees to iECHO, it's just so that they can see the resources that you have, and they would only have access to the resource tab, and I'll go over that in just a minute. but otherwise they won't be able to see what you have in here or see any of that information unless they're actually part of your organization and they've been given access to see that information. So the notes, yes, that's correct, is just for you. All right, so coming back to default attendees, I'm going to add, so I'm going to add a facilitator. So I'm just going to put Christina. And this should go back to your question that you were asking on how they'll be identified as who they are. So here you can see who the facilitators are. And then if you have attendees by video, oops, you can add them there. If you have staff, you can add staff. And actually, I'm going to change that. So Salil's on video, but if you want to add the people that are in person, you can do that as well. So the Elizabeth, I'm going to add them. So you here, just so you understand that if you have people who attend on a regular basis, you can add them as a default attendee and put them in here so that they come up in your clinics every week and you don't have to add them separately every week. So once you hit save, it'll show you how many default attendees you have. So you have 3 default attendees right now. So then if we go back to the clinic record, and we're going to go back to, and so let me see, it's not showing. I think because I created this afterwards, it's not showing the default attendees, but generally they'll populate those default attendees for you. Let me see if I can do another one. Cancel. And I'm going to create another clinic record just to show you what I'm talking about. So, cardiology 102. Oh, actually 101. No. Yes. So location, Egypt University. I'm just going to go through this really quick again. Let's say the 20th. 2. And then I'm going to hit save. And so as you can see here, once I did that, it loaded those 3 default attendees. So if you go in here under attendees, those people who come every week are already loaded. Let's see. So it's, Yasmin, you're asking, can participants, oh, we said that. What do you mean by attendee? Okay, so the definition is when you're looking at this screen, you have, and I'll define all of them for you. So you have the facilitator, who is the person that's actually running the clinic and who is going to be hosting. And they can either join you by video, by audio, or in person. So let's say I was there on video. I added myself as the facilitator, but I joined by video instead of in person. Now, most of the time, the hub, but can, okay, so you know, but can the attendee, but can the attendee show video? So are you asking, and let me make sure I'm understanding, attendee would be one of your spoke sites. So whoever is attending the clinic themselves, and most of the time they'll be attending through video. They won't show a video, but they are just joining by video. Does that answer your question? Okay, great. So, great, wonderful. Okay. So, again, the attendee can join by video or audio or in person, and then the staff can do the same. So if I want to add additional staff, and let's say, let's see, Kayla, Peterson, Jimmy, Pember. So I'm just adding additional people. Now the other thing that you can do, let's say this person that's attending, so Tracy Smith attended your clinic, but let's say she brought somebody with her that you don't know who that person is. You can put a 1 here, and that will specify or let you know that there was an additional person that joined her that you need to find out who that person is, so you can add them into your contact list. And then once you do that, you can hit save, and it'll show you now that you have 5 attendees plus 1 extra attendee person, and that would be the one that you added to Tracy. So does that make sense so far? Is that helpful? Let's see, there's another question here. Okay, so it seems like it's making it, you understand how to add people. Okay, wonderful. All right, so I'm going to go on to the next little tab that we have here. So we have a didactics tab, and this is where you're going to add any didactic information that you have. So this, let's say for this particular clinic, you wanted to add something, you wanted to add your didactic information to this clinic. So you would click on here on the right-hand side, it says create a new didactic, and then you would just title it, whatever the didactic is going to be. So let's say it's heart disease. And then you're going to want to put your presenter, and so we can just say, let's say Ron Zell is doing our presentation today. And then start, you don't have to put right away, but you can put that they're starting at 2, or whenever your presenter is actually presenting. You want to make sure that the presenter only presents about 15 to 20 minutes. That's generally because you want to make sure you have enough time to do case presentations as well. So this is helpful for you to actually see how long that they take. So initially when you're setting this up, let's say you just want them to go 15. You've allotted 15 minutes for them to give their presentation. But once you have the clinic and it's run and your presenter goes over by 20 minutes, you can come back here and put the end time in here and change that. You can run a report later and see. Maybe Ronzel Harrison frequently goes over on his time. And so that will give you an identifier that you'll need to have a conversation with this particular presenter to let him know that in order to be able to do your case presentations, you want to make sure that they stay within, at least 15 minutes. If they run over by a couple of minutes, that's okay. It really is dependent on how much time you have in your clinic. And then, of course, you have another notes field which you can put information in. And then you hit the Save button, and then it'll give you an option to upload the didactic. So just for this, I'm going to show you, you can go here, and I'm going to pick Koala because he's just really cute. And then you hit Open, and then it'll load it for you, and now you have your attachment for this particular didactic. And then if you have other ones, you can load that as well. So the one feature I want to show you when you're here loading this information, so you don't have to go all the way back out to Clinic Record, you can just click on this hyperlink, Cardiology 101, and it'll take you right back to the page that you were previously on. That way you don't have to do a search for your clinic record that you're working on. So that's the didactic portion. This patient presentation, I'm going to pull up and show you what you can use it for. We don't recommend you put any patient information up here because we don't want to be in violation of our policies of any identifiable information on patients, because this isn't that type of site where it's all secure. So you want to make sure you're not putting any patient information as far as like their name, their date of birth, that type of information. But what you can do, and what is helpful for you to do, is if you go back, and I'm actually going to go back a step because so if you go back into a patient presentation and just create a new patient presentation, it'll bring you to this screen and it'll show you patient ID number. So you actually will have to create that patient ID number however you want to do with that. We have a system here that we use, but it's going away, so we don't share it with any of our partners anymore. And hopefully in the near future, we will have a new system that will do something similar that we can share with all of our partners. But in the meantime, you can create your own patient ID number. You can put who the presenter is, whether it's a new patient that's being presented or a follow-up patient, because that way you can run reports and you can see if there's any follow-ups that need to be done. And then there's the follow-up date of when you want them to be followed up on, let's say the 28th. And then you have your start and end time, which is how long it took for the patient or how long you give for them to present their patients. So let's just do 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, 4. And then the presenter is going to be Samantha. We'll just say Mary Smith. And then the start and end time. Pertinent to this patient that you want, like follow up. If it's in a week, maybe notes to as why you want to see them again in a week. Maybe there's something specific that you need to review, and you can put that in there. And then you can hit save. And I wouldn't upload any information. You can just have this as patient presentation, unless something that you feel needs to be uploaded on this patient, but generally you can just leave this as an identifier so you can run reports on how many patients have been presented and if there's any follow-ups needed. So let me go back and answer the question. All right, let's see. So it says, you mean iHealth? Yes, that's correct. We are using iHealth at iECHO for our HCV clinic. But right now we're not giving out any more accounts for iHealth because it's going away, and we're in the middle of transitioning from iHealth to another system that we'll be using. So once that system is up and running, then we will give our partners access to that. What are the types of file extensions the browser supports? I'm not sure I understand the question. Is it Word, PowerPoint? Yes, yes. You can pull any documents that are in Word, PowerPoint, Excel, any of that can be uploaded into iECHO. In JPEGs, as you saw. I mean, anything pretty much. All right, so we have one more tab in this field. So now we have administrative documents here. Excuse me. So administrative documents is the same idea. Let's say you have an agenda for your clinic and you want to upload the agenda here. So again, you create a new administrative document. It doesn't ask for a title, but it gives you a notes field, and what you could just put in there is agenda, so you know what this is. Excuse me. And then you hit save, And then you can upload, and we'll do the penguins this time. Open, and there you have your agenda listed now. And then if we go back, it shows all the information that we've done. So we have 5 attendees, 1 didactic, 1 patient presentation, and 1 administrative document. So this tab right here, I can't really show you what it does. It's just another way of adding attendees, and most people don't use this. It's just a different platform to add attendees. But if you're ever interested in learning how to do that, and you want me to walk you through on your own account, we can do that at a later time. Let me see what question. So we have, what are the types of, oh, sorry, I keep reading the same thing. Is administration document appears to participants? So no, not in this section right here, but if you hold on just a minute, yes, I'll show you where your participants or your spokes can actually see that information. So if you just give me a few more minutes, I'll go over that with you, okay? We're actually going to be going to that tab just next. So before I move on from here, I do want to ask, does anybody have any questions on this particular tab right now? You have another activity field if there's any additional information. You have participants 5, you have an attendee, 1 facilitator, and 3 staff that you can actually, that'll show you who it is. But do you have any questions on clinic records at this time? Okay. Oh, here we go. Nope. All right, wonderful. Then I'm going to go on and move on to the resource tab, which is which we'll talk about kind of your question, Yasmin. So the resource tab here holds all the information of anything that you upload into iECHO. Now there's 2 different options. You have your browse from collections, and then you have your browse from clinics. So if you look here, you can see that the information that we uploaded under Cardiology 101 is actually there. There's 2 documents, and you can click on that, and it'll show you what 2 documents are here. So if you had an agenda, like this admin right here, you would see that, and then the didactic, you see the didactic as well. So if you were to give access to your participants or to your spokes, and you gave them resource-only access to iECHO, they could see the agenda here. The other good thing about this is on these links, you can always right-click and you can copy the link address and you can put that in an email to your participants, and you can send that to them as well. And they don't need access to iECHO in order to view it, because the link will just pull up and populate for them. So I'm going to go back to the resource tab. So these browse from clinics that are all in chronological order. So it'll be newest to oldest is how you will find them, and it'll show you how many documents are there. Now this is a little bit different. This browse from collections is actually separate from any clinic. It is not attached to any clinic, but let's say you had information that has to do with cardiology or heart disease that you want to have out there for people to look at, if they, for them to look at, browse, and read up on. And you just want to add that separate from a clinic. It's not necessarily something that you presented on, but you think it's good information for them to have. You can click the administration tab, and then right here on the right, it says create a new resource. And you can create a new resource, and you would just title it additional heart info. And again, it has a notes field. You don't have to worry about public. Well, Actually, you do have to, so public listing means that everybody can see it. And if you want some of your participants to be able to see it, you want to leave it at true. If you don't, and this is just for you, then you can hit false, and the only person who will be able to see it is you. And then you'll hit the save button. It'll give you an option to choose a file. So we're going to pick this. And unfortunately, you have to do it one at a time. So you can't ask it to upload multiple things at one time. So you have to do it individually. But here, so you have a collection now of additional information on the heart. So when you go back to your resource tab, you'll have that sitting up here with 3 items in there. And they can look through any of these items for them to do any research that they feel is important and valuable for them. Any questions on the resource tab? Okay. So I'm going to move on to the last thing, which is the administrative tab. Let me see. The unpublished. So the unpublished tab is the easiest way that I can describe it is, let's say you had somebody who was participating in your clinics at one point, and then they stopped participating, and you no longer wanted them to be a part of your connection to the clinics, but you still wanted to keep their information for future reference, then you could hit unpublish, and that way they're no longer being pulled or an option to be pulled into a clinic, but you still can go to your contacts tab and you can see them in there, and you can see what their phone number and address and all of that is, but they won't actually be able to be pulled as a participant into a clinic. Is that helpful? Great. Okay, so let's see. So can I link between the additional heart information and the cardiology 101? If I want to notify the participant to read the added information before the clinic time, how do I do that? So when I added the additional heart information under Browse from Collections, that's separate in the sense that it's not tied to a specific clinic. That's why it doesn't have Cardiology 101 on there. But if you want the participant to actually, as part of the process of doing and running your clinics, you're going to be sending out invites for them or information showing them, hey, we have a cardiology clinic every Friday at whatever time. And in there you could put, please make sure to, log into iECHO if they have an iECHO account, and look at the Cardiology 101 for the agenda and the didactic information. And then you can put that in the email. That would be my recommendation on how you would get that information for them to do. But the other option is, if you're sending them an email already, if you just want to copy the links for the agenda and the didactic information, you can also put that in your email to them as well. Whatever's most convenient for you or whoever is going to be sending out that information. Just make it as easy as possible for you. Maybe something that you do as you start working with your sites, your actual clinic sites, and your participants, if you want to tell them as well, if you need any addition, if you decide and choose to give them access to iECHO, then you can tell them, make sure that you're going out to iECHO prior to the clinics that you attend to get the information, and so that they know just in general that part of what they have to do is go out there and look at it. But again, you want to make it as easy as possible for yourself and not make it too cumbersome for them or for you. So it might be just easier to send it in an email. But let me show you right now what I mean by adding them as a resource-only participant in iECHO. So if you go, oh, I haven't gone to reports. I'll come back to reports in a minute, but I'm going to go to the admin tab right now. And then we're going to go to user accounts, and I'm going to click on here. Now here, when you go to user accounts, you'll see everybody in here that is in your iECHO who has user access. Now there's varying levels of access to, and let me show you what I mean by varying levels. I'm going to come over here and scroll down so you can see this. So when you're creating an account, you have your site administrator, which is the highest level. This gives them access to everything. They can create accounts for you, and you only want your site administrator to be probably 1 or 2 people. One person is the main site administrator and then maybe a backup, but they can add your organization, they can add contacts, they can add clinics, and they can create accounts in iECHO. The next person and the next level of user would be power user, which they have the access to do everything except add accounts. They are unable to add accounts, and the power user can also run reports for you, so that's important to know. Then you have your standard user who is only able to enter information in, so they can enter the health insight information, a contact, they can create a clinic record for you, but they are unable to run reports and they are not able to add a user as well. And then last, and what we were just recently talking about, was the resource-only user. So the resource-only user is just for spokes. So this is for your participants. If you want to add them to be able to see an iECHO, then you can add them as a resource-only user. And let me show you how to do that. But again, this comes back to whether you want to take the time to add your spokes as a user. But if you do, you can create a new user account. You can create the name, give them a username, give them a password, and then here a group, you're going to leave everybody as a regular user here. And then global role is where you're actually going to choose whether they're a power user, a standard user, or here it doesn't show resource only user, but under your account when you go into it, it does have that listed as well. So you're going to pick resource only user for to be able to go see documentation that you want to put up there. And then the rest of this stuff, you'll put their first and last name and their email. But this down here, you can change location to Egypt, but other than that, you can leave everything else the same. And then you can just hit the save button. Any questions on the admin and adding? So in reaching new account, there is no drop-down list at resource tab. It is dependent on entry level, enter size level. So let me make sure I'm understanding your question correctly. You said there's no resource only tab or resource tab. You don't have a resource tab in there? You have that, okay. So I'm not sure I'm understanding your question then. Can you rephrase that? Without subcategories. Oh, I see. Okay. so you're saying when you go into the admin tab, so you go here, you go to user accounts, and when you come here to create a user account, you don't have this global role? Is that what I'm understanding? In your demo, you have other subcategories and resource.
If you
So
hear
when
me,
you're, yes.
You hear me? Okay. So
yes, I can hear you.
when you move your cross over resources at your demo, I noticed that you have subcategories under the tab of resources. Is it correct? So.
Oh, subcategories under this one or under resource?
Resource.
Because I don't, under resource, I don't have any.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, no. It's just the resource tab categories under there. Okay, let's see. Okay, great. So now I'm going to show you just the reports. So if you come here, you have a list of all of these reports, so you can use any of them, but the two that we really focus is Clinic Data Extractor and Clinic Report. So if you go to Clinic Data Extractor, you have, excuse me, you have the option of choosing a date range. So I'm actually going to backdate it so we can pull some information. And we're going to go to the 12th. And we're going to go to current. And then as you see, all of this information is information we just recently inputted. You have your clinics, you have your clinic status, clinic types, attendee types. So you can choose. If you do drop down, it'll give you options to choose. So I'm going to check all for my clinics. Just want to make sure that we have some information in there. And then you have editing in private, scheduled. So if you want to find out how many of your clinic records are still in progress or completed, you can pull by that. It's really up to you what you find useful. Clinic types, if you just want echo clinics, you can unclick these. And then attendee types, facilitator, attendee, and staff. And then connection types, clinic related, health center related, and attendee related. So I'm going to leave that all the same, but you can go through and pick any that you want. Then we're going to hit the download button. And then I'm going to open it. So as you see, do control. So if you look at this, it gives you all the information that I requested. So it gives you the date of the clinic, it gives you the clinic name, it gives you whether that clinic, what status it was in, the location, the type. So, and then you can sort and you can put in whatever you want, whatever information you find is helpful. But if you go around here kind of towards the end, you'll see where there's some missing information. And so you're missing phone numbers and addresses or email addresses. So it's helpful to have that information in there when you're running reports. So you'll start to recognize what information is really important for you and how to run these reports and what you want to, what types of information you want when you're running these reports. So that's the clinic data extractor. And then we have this one, which is the clinic report. So if you click on here, and again, I'm going to backdate it a little bit so we have some information. And then it has 353 clinics selected. I'm going to leave that. Clinic status, again, it gives you the same choices, and then clinic types, it gives you those choices as well. And then you generate a report. And it'll take a minute for it to pull up. There we go. So, so if you look at this clinic report will show you attendance. It shows you presentations that were done, credentials of those who attended. It'll show you numbers by clinics, so it'll break it out by clinic type, and what clinics, or 3 clinics, 8 in attendance for that clinic, 8 individuals, and 2.7 attendees per clinic session. So it lists all the clinics we have and who attended and how many. So I don't know if that's something you would find helpful, but it tells you the number of clinics that were found and the total hours that were during this time. The anonymous, let me see if I'm seeing that correctly. Are you looking at this right here, this plus anonymous? So the plus anonymous is actually when you have put somebody in. Remember we added that one person to that name? So we added under Tracy that she had one person with her. That's the anonymous. Yeah. So if you don't have a name for that person, but there's a 1 in there, it'll count it as an anonymous person. So it gives you like the 602 total plus the number of anonymous. And here it breaks it out individual, 170 attendees, facilitators involved, attendees involved, and staff involved. So that is pretty much all the training. Printable version, yes, they're all printable. This one, I believe, can print out. That's a good question. I think you would just right click and hit print on this one for that. But that's all I have for iECHO training. Do you have any questions on any of the things we went over today? And do you feel like this was helpful for you? Do you feel like you'll understand going into your iECHO instance now and be able to add a health center and a contact? You're welcome, I'm glad I was able to do this. Let's see. So yes, I need to know the answer of this question. If I want to add the data to our medical for our medical consultant, where do you do that? How would I differentiate? Oh, this is going between the learners. Okay. I mean in the data fields. Okay, so are you asking, let me just, Yasmin, let me make sure that I'm understanding this. So the way that I would identify them, so as far as your facilitators go, I would put, like if you're medical directors or consultants for the hub, I would put them under facilitator. And that way you would know who the facilitator were or your medical consultants were versus, let's say, your learners who would be attendees. So any attendees would fall under, any learners would fall under attendees. Is that what you were asking? And is that helpful? Okay, so, and if I want to evaluate them, so you are asking if you want to evaluate who? Your consultants? Okay. You can't, so our reports won't necessarily help you. You can pull reports to see who were your presenters, at some point. But what you can do for evaluation, if you want, so there's a couple of different things that I can send you, Om. The observation form, I have an observation form that I use when I sit in on clinics. It's not so much to rate. Well, it sort of is. I'll send it to you and you tell me, Om, if that's what you would be helpful for you, because you could use that as well. And you could have your participants use the observation form as well to give you feedback. They would just mark and check off whether the presenters or the facilitators were helpful, whether they I'll show you. It's a long list of things that we review to make sure that as the clinic is running, that the right things are being done. So did the clinic start on time? How long did the facilitator take? Did they go, or the presenter, the didactic presenter, did they go over? Were people introduced at the beginning? So there's a long list of things both for the facilitators, for the spokes, and for IT related items. So I'll send it to you. You can look at it, see if that's what you're thinking of. And if it's not, then we can talk further about what that might look like. So Yasmin, let me see what you said. Can iECHO provide pre and post test if I want to evaluate the information before and after the clinic? No, it doesn't unfortunately do that. So one thing that we are, again, I've talked about a new system that we're looking to put together, which will actually eventually replace iECHO as well. But all the information you put into iECHO will be transferred over to the new system. So don't fear. Don't feel like anything you put in here will go away, because all the information will be transferable. But we will have a lot more options in the new system, so that may be something that we're able to do in the new system. But at the time, we're not able to evaluate or do a pre and post test. That would be separate, and I could connect you with our evaluation team if it's something that you want to see how we do it here, to give you a little bit of insight of how that might work for you. Okay, wonderful. So I will connect you, you and Yasmin, to our evaluation team as well. That'll be part of the package, as Erica and I were talking about. Some people that will do connections with you will make for you. So I think for today, this is all we'll do. But what I would like to do for everybody, Dina, Yasmin, and Om, is schedule another meeting, and then we can go ahead and, once we've scheduled that other meeting, start writing down questions that you have and let me know, and I will be happy to answer any of your questions. So, but I'm very thankful for having you join, and thank you for your questions. And if something else comes up on iECHO once you start going in, please let me know. You can reach me through email, and we can set up another meeting if we need to. But I'll get with you and start giving you some additional information along with Dina and Yasmin, and then we'll go from there and see what else we need to do to help you further your clinics.
Okay, thank you, Christine.
You're welcome.
Very helpful.
Oh, great. I'm glad to hear that. And like I said, if you have any questions going forward, just let me know. But thank you again, and we'll talk again soon, okay?
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
All right. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. You too.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.